I was half-dressed, still catching my breath, when the hotel door creaked open. At first, I thought it was room service, or maybe a mistake. But then I saw him, Ronald, my husband, standing in the doorway, frozen, his briefcase hanging from his fingers like dead weight. His eyes locked not on me, but on the man standing beside the bed, buttoning up his shirt, his boss. Mr. Roberts. I could not move. I could not speak. Time bent in that moment, stretching so far I thought it would snap. Ronald did not yell. He did not cry. He simply turned, walked out, and closed the door like he was sealing a tomb. And in that silence, I knew I had destroyed the man who loved me and the life we built together. But what he did next, that was the part one never saw coming. Before I continue, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you watching this right now. Whether you are a returning viewer or this is your first time here, your support means everything. If you have not subscribed yet, I truly cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel that keeps this channel alive. Please remember to like this video and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing from you, and your stories matter just as much as mine. Now, let me tell you how it all began. My name is Jessie, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I met Ronald in college. He was dependable, grounded, kind to the point of fault. We married young, built a modest but beautiful life. Ronald worked hard, too hard sometimes, climbing the ranks at a real estate development firm. His boss, Mr. Roberts, was practically a legend in the industry. Older, sharp-suited, silver hair, and sharp tongue. Ronald idolized him. But while Ronald gave everything to the job, he slowly started giving less to me. I am not blaming him. Marriage is hard. But the quiet moments grew longer. His phone calls shorter. His smile more distracted. I felt like a house with all the lights off. I still existed, but no one was coming home. Then came the company gala. I wore a red dress Ronald barely noticed. But Mr. Roberts did. He said I lit up the room like a chandelier. I laughed, but it felt warm, the kind of warmth I had forgotten I needed. He started texting after that. At first, it was harmless. How are you? Lunch on Thursday? I told myself it was nothing. Just professional courtesy. But I did not tell Ronald. That should have been my first warning. The truth is, Roberts knew exactly what he was doing. He was confident, smooth, powerful. He knew how to make someone feel seen. And I was starved to be seen. It was not one moment. It was 1,000 small moments. Drinks after lunch. Car rides with music playing too softly. The way his hand lingered too long on mine. And before I knew it, I was in too deep. We met at a hotel, neutral ground, away from the office, away from Ronald, away from the truth. And that day, Ronald was supposed to be in Phoenix for a client meeting. I had planned everything carefully. Or so I thought. The door opened. My husband stood there. My whole world shattered. But what still haunts me, even now, is not the look on his face. It is the question I never asked. How long had he known? Ronald did not slam the door. He did not scream. He did not even ask why. He just left. And somehow, that silence cut deeper than any words could have. I stood in that hotel room with Robert still buttoning his shirt, acting like we had just concluded a business meeting. The air was thick with panic, but Roberts only scoffed and said, "He will get over it." That was the moment I realized something I should have known from the beginning. Roberts had nothing to lose. But I did. And I had just lost everything. When I got home that night, the house was quiet. Ronald's keys were on the table. His shoes were gone. So was his wedding ring. For 3 days, he did not come back. No calls. No messages. Nothing. I left voicemails, long ones, crying, apologizing, begging. I wanted to explain, even if I did not deserve the chance. But the truth is, there was no explanation that could make it right. I had betrayed not just my husband's trust, I had betrayed his pride, his job, his sense of safety. On the fourth day, he returned. He did not look like my Ronald. His face was hard, his eyes were tired, and he moved like someone carrying invisible chains. "I just want to know why," he said. His voice was low, almost empty. "Why him?" I opened my mouth, but no words came. Because what was I supposed to say? That I felt invisible? That I missed the version of him who used to hold me without checking his phone? That his boss made me feel important? I broke down. I confessed everything. How it started. Why I let it happen. How it spiraled. He listened. But I could see something in him had already broken beyond repair. I asked him how he knew. He said, "The hotel reservation was under your name. On our joint card. You forgot to hide it this time." I felt sick. I had not even realized. Maybe deep down, I had wanted to be caught. Weeks passed. We barely spoke. I stopped seeing Roberts, but the damage was done. The silence between Ronald and me grew wider every day. Then one morning, Ronald came home with a box. He had cleaned out his office. He had been demoted. No warning. No explanation. He said Roberts had transferred him to a low-level position across town. No meetings. No clients. No future. That was when it hit me. This was never just about love or betrayal. It was power. Roberts had used me, and now he was using my husband's pain to assert his control. And somehow, I was the one who lit the match that burned it all down. Ronald finally spoke to me one night, after weeks of sleeping in the guest room. He did not yell. He did not accuse. He just stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed over his chest, and said, "I knew for weeks. I was waiting, just waiting to see if you would tell me the truth." My knees buckled. I slid down the cabinet and sat on the cold tile floor, trembling. "You knew?" He nodded. "I saw the messages. I saw the way you looked at your phone. You smiled like I was not even in the room anymore." He had known. All that time, the business trip to Phoenix? That was a lie. He had never left the state. He just wanted to catch me in it, to know for sure. "You could have confronted me," I whispered. "And what would that have changed?" He said, "You already made your choice." That night, he handed me a folder with divorce papers. No anger, no bitterness. Just a quiet finality that told me he was done trying to understand why I burned our life to the ground. I did not sign them. Not yet. I spent the next week walking through our house like a stranger, touching the photo frames, the dishes, the bed we once shared. I realized something no affair could prepare me for. When you destroy someone who loved you, you do not just lose them. You lose the part of yourself they believed in. Roberts called me once after that. I let it ring. I never answered. I had nothing left to give him. He went on like I never mattered. I later heard he had another assistant, a new friend in the office. I was just one more disposable secret in his long, polished career. Ronald, on the other hand, moved out quietly. No drama. He thanked me for being honest, even if it was too late. He said he hoped I would one day understand what I had cost us both. Now, I live in that same house alone. Every creak of the floorboards reminds me of the silence that grew between us. Every shadow feels like the ghost of the woman I used to be, the one who was loved, the one who was trusted. I cannot undo what I did, but I can live with the memory of it every single day. If you are watching this and thinking about crossing a line, thinking no one will get hurt, please think again. Infidelity is not a moment. It is a fracture that spreads until everything breaks. Love is not always loud, but betrayal echoes forever. Thank you for watching this story. If you have ever experienced something like this, or have thoughts about forgiveness, betrayal, or starting over, please share your story in the comments. I read every single one of them. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if this story touched you in any way. Your support means the world and keeps these stories coming. Until next time, stay honest, stay strong, stay human.